Purdy was on, he was lighting up defenses. When things got particularly tough around him, he wasn't nearly as great, making me wonder if he's able to consistently elevate those around him. Sounds like a fair question. Is he a quarterback who can overcome adversity, or will he be limited by it in his career? Where are those goalposts when you need them, Bruce? Some people wanted to know how he would deal with adversity years ago. So, Brew, Coach saw it yesterday. What is this? Are you giving him the pass?
Iowa Mafia, baby. I'm still with you.
Okay, all right.
Contrary to popular opinion on this show. At least
hold on.
Nick.
Coach,
I don't know who else actually.
Coach, yesterday, Greg wasn't here. Yesterday, did it feel like Brew was falling out of love with Brock Purdy?
It didn't feel like you were in love.
Thank you.
I'm fair.
Exactly. So,
I'm fair.
would the 49ers regret paying Brock Purdy?
Well, you know where I'm at.
Yeah, that he's.
And Coach talked about it earlier. Mahomes, if Mahomes took $45 million, then maybe Brock Purdy can take $45 million. That's all I'm saying. So that's what I'm trying to do. But let's say they pay him top of the market. He wants his money. He hadn't been paid. I don't think it's a death knell because the cap goes up. Philadelphia has shown you can have a high-priced quarterback, and I know Jalen's contract hadn't kicked
really
in yet.
Right.
But still, they got everything, right? And so you can still add great players around a highly paid quarterback. And look, he's shown you that he's got poise. He's shown you he can play in the playoffs. We got his playoff numbers coming up. But he's performed well in the playoffs, 4 wins already, got you to a Super Bowl. And you might say, well, Jimmy G got us to a Super Bowl too.
Yeah, that's what.
But they got there. But you remember that, Nick. In fairness, they got there kind of despite Jimmy G. In the playoffs, they hardly threw the football. Didn't they throw it only 8 times in one game?
Yes, but
Purdy actually had led comebacks, led game-winning drives in the second half against top teams to get them to the Super Bowl.
Was even throwing trick shot passes off defenders' helmets into
I mean, Purdy. And here's the other thing: this year, with no Brandon Ayuk, with Debo's not an Avenger anymore, as far as I'm concerned. He's good. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's not.
And Debo's probably going to be gone next year as well.
So, right. Yep. And no Christian McCaffrey for the most part. Look at this passer rating. Was he fantastic? As good as first 2 years? No, but his passer rating still was higher than these guys. We got this graphic, I believe,
others,
coming on.
I'm sure
it's some big names on there. If we ever see it, it'll be. Oh, we don't. I'll read.
Take your word for
higher passer rating than Stafford, Patrick Mahomes. You mentioned C.J. Stroud.
His passer rating was good. This graphic will have his passer rating. We put up his previous part of his career to last year. What you will see, I think we have this one, is he was, of course, worse across the board. And the claim to fame early was that he was a winner. The claim to fame the year before this one was the great numbers along with winning. Right. So his rookie year, he was a winner. He was in the 2023, he had the amazing numbers to go along with the wins. And then 2024, he had neither. And I feel, Coach, like if you have to hesitate, then you don't pay the guy. If it's not a no-brainer, and the people you guys will throw at me is Trevor. For me, Trevor, I wouldn't have had to hesitate. Now, it doesn't right now look like it was the right call. I understand that. But at that moment, the guy who had been the #1 pick of the draft, a guy who in year 2 made the playoffs, played great, won a playoff game, and in year 3, they were 8-3 and then he got hurt, I would have been like, yes, of course I'm paying him. I get that you guys almost put Trevor out of it because
But this ain't Dak, Tua.
Right, but I wouldn't have paid those guys. That's the point I'm making.
That's fair.
And so like Burrow, Josh, Patrick, obviously, there's no hesitation.
There's like 4 guys like that, though.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, so for me, like, will they regret it? I think they will. Simply because of what we're talking about right now. Those top guys are automatic, no-brainers, no questions asked. 32 teams had an opportunity to pay them, they would pay them because they're that much of a difference maker. Now, with Brock Purdy, the challenge is going to be what we saw this year. can be what we will see moving forward.
Because you're not gonna have as stacked of a team.
Yes, and I didn't think he played bad, but he clearly didn't play good enough to where they were able to overcome some of those issues that they're gonna have. They're not gonna have all these guys moving forward once you decide to pay Brock Purdy, and even if you don't decide to pay him, you're still not gonna have all these guys. And he was inserted into a situation where they were a stacked team, defensively and offensively, and so all he had to do was just be steady and not turn the ball over. And now you're asking a player that wasn't asked to do so much to do much more.
But don't you think he did a lot? I mean, like
last
I said,
year?
No, 2 years ago. Like you said, he just had to be steady. I mean, he led them to that
2 years ago,
win
he
over
was
Detroit,
very good.
right? And then Green Bay. Like he did more than just be steady. Like Jimmy G was steady for the most part. Brock actually made some things happen on his own, too.
And in fairness to Brock Purdy, to say that he hasn't dealt with any adversity, he's Mr. Irrelevant, and he figures out a way to become the starter, and then he's
the way he figured out to become the starter was everyone got hurt in front of him. He didn't figure it out.
But Trey,
guys broke their leg.
But Trey Lance was there, and he was the third overall draft pick, and he overcame that. And to say that you can insert anybody into it, they obviously wanted to make Trey Lance work. That was, yes, about as embarrassing as you can get from a draft perspective. And so he was able to overcome that. And if Trevor Lawrence had the career that Brock Purdy's had so far, we'd be talking about Trevor in a totally different light.
I totally agree.
And what I'll say is that Kyle Shanahan has the best position to evaluate whether or not Brock Purdy is the answer. And if we can pull up this graphic here. So now he's been coaching quarterbacks or an offensive coordinator for a long time. Look at the volume of quarterbacks that he spent time with, okay? Some have gone to Pro Bowls, some have been the MVPs, and it's high draft picks, it's free agents, it's across the board. So he's seen a range of guys work within his system. So if he believes that Brock Purdy can continue to elevate, then organizationally you go ahead and pay him. And this is what I'm going to say too. He may not believe he deserves the highest end money, but unfortunately in this world you have to pay what the market is. And so you may overpay for a guy that you feel should be a little bit less, but that's just the world we live in, and that's the reality. But no one's in a better position than he is to say whether or not this guy is the future.
Is there a way to pull up Coach's graphic again? Because I think that is instructive. Because, so there are a few guys on this list that are just not starters, right? Mullins, Hoyer, Beathard, Trey Lance, it would, at this point.
But he was a top pick.
Darnold. Get to Darnold. But Mullins, Hoyer, Beathard were not starters in this league, right? All of the guys who were starters that Shanahan got a full season from them, it was the best football we ever saw them play, and they weren't able to recreate it. That is part. So Jimmy G, you know what I mean? Now we saw Jimmy G before and after. Purdy, it's unfair because we've only seen him with them, right? Matt Ryan had a long career, a good career. Got with Kyle, won league MVP, was never close to it. RG3, again, that might be unfair because he got hurt. Matt Schaub was a fine player in Houston, all of a sudden, is making Pro Bowls with Kyle. Kyle's gone. That changes.
Cousins was great.
Matt Ryan wins the MVP, right?
Right.
With Shanahan. And Cousins was great in Minnesota, and so he got Cousins. I'm not sure he ever coached Cousins for a full season when he was the starter in Washington.
The reason that I included him on that list is because the owner forced him to draft RG3, and he and his dad wanted to draft Kirk Cousins. So they drafted him in the same draft, first round, high first round, and fourth round.
So the reason I bring this up is this, and McNabb was old McNabb. He didn't get but the point I'm making is this is why I have real hesitation about and it's why I always bring up if he were in a different situation, not even because that's relevant to how good of a player he is. It's relevant to, is there a better way for us to spend $55 million? I couldn't do it with Trey Lance, especially after he broke his leg. But if I could do it with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I could do it with Mr. Irrelevant, would I rather give Sam Darnold the Baker Mayfield contract
but
than
Nick,
give.
He's making that decision.
I know.
He's the one making that decision, and he's got that guy in his system. So if it works for him, and nobody has more to lose than Kyle Shanahan does. I mean, it's his job, it's the coaches' jobs, it's all the players' job. You know, it's all their success is tied together. So if he feels, after working with that range of quarterbacks, that this guy can lead us to where we want to go, then I think if you have to pay him a little bit more to get to that point, then organizationally you say, okay, we're going to move forward with it.
And as much as I used to defend Garoppolo, because he did win, Purdy has done way more than Garoppolo.
I agree.
I mean, he was better in the Super Bowl than Garoppolo. Those playoffs, he was leading them, not just.
I agree, but we now know that Garoppolo is Garoppolo outside of Shanahan is a bad player.
Yes.
I
so
don't
that
know.
is,
I mean,
and so my point
we
is,
didn't see him before Shanahan. I'll give Garoppolo this. Right. I mean, and again, he was always injured. So by that point, maybe physically he can't do anything. But when he got to San Francisco, they were 1-10.
Yeah.
And he led them to 5 straight wins. Then they made him the highest paid player in the history of the game. And then he led them to, some great success when he was healthy.
That was the start of the New England friction. Remember, Bill wanted to keep
Bill wanted.
from Brady.
Yeah.
So.
I really am fascinated with what Kyle ends up doing here, because I don't know that Kyle thinks I know that he wanted a force multiplier at quarterback. That's why they traded 3 first-round picks for a player they thought could be. Obviously, Trey Lance is not that player. He was way wrong on that, but the thought process tells us he thinks there's another level this offense can be unlocked by if you have that guy at quarterback. If they pay Brock, they're saying he thinks that it can be that guy, which is, again, Mike McDaniel's protege. I said it. I've been grading him on a curve because I think Tua is a limited player. Once they pay Tua, it's like, no, you signed up for this. You're treating him like a superstar. You now are held to superstar standards. I wonder if that's what's going to happen with Brock. That ain't my decision. Looking forward to seeing what we're going to do with Sam. JJ's going to have his opportunity. I'm always confident in myself. Don't matter who's going to be throwing the ball. I'm going to make a play for sure. Obviously, the free agent quarterbacks that stand out are, you have Darnold, you have Rodgers, you have others. Greg, what do you think the Vikings should do at quarterback?
Well, obviously, you're going to give JJ an opportunity. You got
start?
Yeah, you're going to give him an opportunity. You drafted this young man believing in his ability and who he is and what he can bring to your franchise at the quarterback position. He can run outside the pocket. He can extend plays. He can make every throw that you want him to make. I'm a big Michigan fan. I'm with you. We didn't see that at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh in the style of offense that he plays. But with what we were able to see with Sam Darnold, which you doubted, and Wilds doubted for a period of time as well, and everybody waited for him to turn pumpkin. Like, why would I not believe that he can do this same thing with a young, more talented, with more ability, J.J. McCarthy, if he's healthy? If he's healthy, absolutely, we're gonna see J.J. McCarthy moving forward with the Minnesota Vikings.
Go ahead, Coach.
What I read recently is that McCarthy's on track to be participating in OTAs, and as much as it's disappointing that he got hurt, there is still a big difference between your first year and your second year, and we lose track of that as on the outside looking in, whether it's getting used to the playbook, the coaches, the town, the process of playing pro football. He's had a year to do all that. Now, he didn't get the same level of field work, but at least he's adjusted to pro football. Now he's going to be back healthy. Organizationally, you want him to be successful. Now, after him, and Sam Darnold said a lot of great things about what they were able to do to unlock his potential. So I would imagine that with McCarthy, you have that same opportunity to turn him into something potentially special. So organizationally, the priority should be McCarthy, and then you get somebody, if that doesn't work out the way you want, that can hopefully, put you in a position to win games.
So you guys are letting Darnold walk.
Yeah.
I think I'm franchising him or offering him a 2-year deal with the second year is like a team option or something. Like, I'm not paying him huge money, but maybe franchise him and then let them fight it out. And maybe McCarthy's not ready. I'm not sure.
You don't think his end of season put such a sour taste?
It definitely put a sour taste, but he went from essentially nothing to last year, a very good season.
Fringe MVP
you might be thinking maybe he can now take that next step and start playing with the pressure and stuff. And maybe McCarthy beats him out. That's why I only want to do a one-year deal franchise tag. But I just feel like I'm not ready to just hand it to J.J. McCarthy and say now the franchise.
This is where I'm going to lean on what Coach said about Kyle Shanahan in the last segment, or just a minute ago about Brock Purdy. KO has the best seat understanding what he's dealing with. Kevin O'Connell. He's seen Sam Darnold. To your point, what we saw at the end of the season, he got Coach of the Year. He had his team in a position to be successful, to make a deep playoff run. And where did they fall short? At the quarterback position.
I also think, Greg, they were ready to hand this to J.J. McCarthy as a rookie.
See, I
think they were.
You don't think so?
Eventually, yes.
I think last year he was going to be the starter at some point. Maybe not week
no
one.
No question. At some point, that was always the plan.
Yeah. Can I say one other thing that's not? It's kind of on topic, but not really. I thought of it reading the Justin Jefferson quote. Justin Jefferson might be the league's only force multiplier receiver. Justin Jefferson has the exact mentality Coach wants quarterbacks to have about their receivers. Don't matter who's out there. You're paying me. I'll be the star. I'll get it to you. Justin Jefferson's and he's proven it out. Don't really matter who my quarterback is. If I'm out there, I'm going to get my 1,500 yards. I'm going to get in the end zone. I'm going to be grittying all over your defense. And I'm going to make all these quarterbacks look better than they actually are.
And why can't Daniel Jones be this year's Sam Darnold?
That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, and I think there was a reason that he went up there, and spent time right after the Giants, is to maybe position, one, to get back on track, but maybe position himself to be in that Sam Darnold spot if JJ doesn't work out, where he can now revive his career with a really good team. And
that is an interesting one. If they give him the deal they gave Sam, 1 year, $10 million to stick around, if nobody else, because I don't think the market's going to be huge for Daniel Jones, and then Sam goes potentially if it goes elsewhere. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.